Moving on, we have a keynote presentation on data governance and challenges by none other than Mr. Kamran Ahmed, Vice President, Data Quality Manager, the Saudi National Bank. He is an enterprise data architect and data governance professional with over 20 years of experience in highly sophisticated working environments in banking, finance, and manufacturing. He brings a unique blend of experience in technology, business, regulatory reporting, data flow, integration, and mapping. He has excelled in combining the technical capabilities and business knowledge with the ability to motivate the team he works with. I'm sure this session is going to be very interesting and insightful. The stage is all yours, Mr. Ahmed. Over to you.
Assalamu alaikum. Let me share my screen. And my today's topic is data governance challenges. As we said that, and we were discussing, I think, repeatedly in this meeting, that we normally see the past and we are predicting our future. But there is a trend actually in our past, and that's why we are looking into the future based on the past trend. For example, when IT basically started, so IT was not reporting directly to the IT department, it was reporting to the CFO because most of the financial applications were working for them. Similarly, when the IT department starts, there are so many things basically move to IT department, and similarly the data governance is none of them, but it feels like that this is an IT job. In my opinion, this is not an IT job, but this is a whole organization's job, and it has a separate office which is called data governance. And data governance office is basically facing a lots of challenges, which is basically all these challenges are depending on the organization data maturity levels. Each organization is unique, and the people are different and the culture is different. But having said that, there are some common painful challenges which we found in the organizations. For example, we have a lack of the leadership, and then senior management buy-in. We have to understand the implications of the bad data. I already stated that there is a misconception going on that IT owns the data, and we will discuss about it. And then in the last, we will talk about the data governance for them in terms of multi-cloud, how basically giving us the challenge. See, we have a 2C level bulls, and the one of the chief data officer and another one is the chief information officer. The difference between these two is the chief information officer is working for the last 40 years. And the chief data officer is basically deployed first time in Yahoo and other companies 10 years ago. Now the CDO is more popular designation. And what is the difference between two? Basically, the chief information officer is more looking into the IT governance perspective, and they are looking for the accuracy of the structure. They are looking for more architecture like network, databases, all of those things. The CDO is looking for that data content, what is exactly the content is. The second point comes in the custodian of the ownership. In my opinion, I'm basically always keep saying that, okay, we cannot go away from the ownership of the data, even if we are the user or the generator, or we are just the IT user. There are basically the mainly two types of the ownerships here. Number one is basically the designated, and second one is the not designated. The designated are normally working for the data governance office. For example, the stewards, data steward, they know the value, they are managing the data quality, they are looking after the data and data sets and make it available to the users. But on the other hand, for example, the business user, when they are basically receiving the data set, they are basically revising it and running the statistics on it and creating the visualization and the statistics results and bringing the metrics in a dashboard manner, and that's basically also what they are doing. They are creating data out of data. They're also basically the responsible of making the good quality of data. So the conclusion is that normally the people couldn't understand they are also the owner. In my point number 2, already said that everybody is data steward, because we are always in a situation we are consuming the data. We already said, and we are also generating the data. We can set the proportion of how much data we are generating and how much we are consuming, but we are all basically user of data. Business value understand in this way that I am normally saying the data is the asset. And people say, okay, if it is an asset, then how basically we define the asset? Basically, then in balance sheet, we are defining asset in the asset column, and we say, okay, it has a value. How you define the asset value? The asset value is defined in this way that if the data has a bad quality or maybe data is not present at all, what is basically the opportunity you lost in the organization? And if you use the bad data, what kind of a bad reputation and how much goodwill will damage? This is basically one of the ways to understand the value of data, and it's create basically the column of assets. To measure the assets, data asset value is not that easy. It depends where it's used, how it's used, and who's using. The bad data normally leads to the poor decision making. We all know that basically right now, the next few years, we are going to have electronic car, and these are all run by algorithm. Because of IoT, we know that our home will run through the small devices, ambient devices, and then all the electricity and the movement will be logged and saved. Our phone right now basically saving a lot of data about ourselves. So the point, what is basically important is the data, why we are collecting all of those data, because we want to make some decision, because we want to create some trend, and we have to understand the behavior. These behavior basically leads us to create the more business, to lead us to more understand in health sector to prevent the diseases or treat the diseases in a proper manner. So that's why the poor decision making, if the data quality is not perfect, definitely because of that, the business not be efficient. Another thing is the reputation. Once the reputation is gone, so it will basically create the mistrust in among the business community and consumer, and this is normally not repairable. Once this is gone, the mistrust happen, the company has to rename or regain the name in a very difficult manner. Definitely, if we do not have a quality of data, then we have a missed opportunity. And in banking sector, especially if we report and we present the wrong data, it will basically, we penalize a hefty amount. And we can see this GDPR cases or PIPDA cases, all of those, and local regulations. So bad quality is basically not affordable at any cost. There are many ways basically to identify the quality. One is the best way. Before we basically starting the improving the data quality, we have to decide why and where we are going to use the data. Once this has been strategically decided, then the quality, basically data quality driven against this phrase. Now, this is basically a juggling between IT and the new office, data governance office. I feel that why? Because it is a separation between these two domains, and it has a conflict of interest actually as well. But both of them have a collaboration. Most of the IT basically working around the data. They are basically responsible for application operations. They are contingency backup and restoration. Information security department basically looking for to protect the data. But none of them basically is looking inside the data. What is exactly the data is and how it's going to be present. What is the quality? For example, there is a column which is called, you have to input the date. And we have a small validation is that it should not be 18 if the as of today it's not been 18. If anybody input anything and he just comply this column, then basically nobody can fix this issue until you have to call back and work on it. Application wise, this data is correct because it's qualified the validation. But once the data governance is started, they basically create the implication out of it, and then they work against it and they fix all of those issues. They produce the proper results and then statistics. So the data ownership is another subject. So who owns the data? The primarily when the data governance office is established in the organization, the data governance office data steward basically owns the data along with the business people. Why we are saying normally what happened in the past, the IT and business users, IT never owns the data, but the business users along with both of them sharing the knowledge, sharing the basically the data. The relationship is little bit change here, and basically what we are saying, okay, the data content has to be reviewed and along with the business user because they are the subject matter expert. So stewardship and the business owner along they create the value out of the data. Now another topic which basically comes to when I was working on the cloud area and last few months, the few challenges I found along with the data governance. See what happened, our regulatory saying one part. For example, in Saudi Arabia, there is a rule. We have not to go beyond our border to store the data, especially for the banking sector. I don't know the other organizations. So we have to basically save our data into the local cloud system. Then the migration is one of the biggest challenge because the compliance issue comes in. Accessibility in terms of accessibility is not very big challenge for the multi-cloud, but it becomes challenge when it become a disaster and recovery area, which and where we have to recover and how we are going to compliant. Another biggest option in the multi-cloud or the simple cloud system is the security, because the data center is not in our control, machines are somewhere else. Somebody else is basically managing the machines and we have no control over those things. So data security is basically is another challenge when we are basically working on the data governance in the cloud. In my opinion, we are basically with the cloud and multi-cloud, we are enjoying a lot because we can access our information anywhere, wherever we want, 24/7. Systems are available. We are working efficient. The biggest challenge after that comes in with the compliance, the regulator, where our data is reside, who's accessing our data, how do we know this data has been accessed, and how we protect it. Normally we are saying, okay, it's encrypted, but it's encrypted at one level, but how basically we make sure that nobody else is accessing. There are definitely tools available, but all of those things require lots of basically the working against to create the mature model for those things. Having said that, I just want to share with you one 3-minute video, if you allow. So so it will show you basically how basically we perceive the corrective actions of the data governance. Okay. In conclusion, basically, when we are talking about the data governance challenges, so we have to define basically the clear rules and responsibility among the organization. We have to increase the literacy rate for the data related, create awareness program in the organization that they understand, okay, what are the responsibility and how they are basically protecting their own data. And security is another concern. Data governance is separate from IT governance, and it is not clashing. It is basically a collaborating, because this is a separate column is going to be established, and a very few days we will see, okay, how basically we are looking into. Multi-cloud is a new way to manage the data, and at the same time, the more responsibility to be the compliant with the international bodies. And having said that, if you basically want to see my profile on the LinkedIn, there is a link I shared, and I'm waiting for your question answer. Kindly raise your questions, and I will be glad to answer you.
Thank you for the knowledge and wonderful presentation, Mr. Ahmed. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways from this session. Do enjoy the rest of the day. I don't see that we have any questions right now, but in case we do receive any questions, we will go ahead and email them across to you. So, you could go ahead and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.